Hey guys, Tyrantt here. Today, we're going to be building this, a custom 65mm NewBeeDrone whoop that mostly consists of NewBeeDrone parts. It's super easy to build and doesn't take very long to do. So with that being said, let's jump to it.
I'm through the yard, catching air with the stars. With my whoops, I'm soaring high, leaving trails that glow. No limits, no fears, just freedom in my sight. When I'm up in the sky, everything feels right, so right. Freestyling through the air, flipping upside down. I'm dancing with the wind, feeling weightless all around. Through the trees and over hills, I'm chasing dreams untamed. In this moment, I'm alive. My spirit can't be tamed, can't be tamed. Whoops in the sky, I'm living the dream, feeling so free, like nothing's in between. Fly with me.
All right, let's get started. So the build is going to consist of the NewBeeDrone Light AF racing frame, which I believe is about 2.4 grams. We have the Hummingbird V3 flight controller, and I gotta say, I love the packaging. It's surprisingly really small. When I saw it, I had to do a double take to make sure that I got the right product, because usually you don't see packaging this small. So I'm pretty curious to see how it looks inside. We have the NewBeeDrone 0702 flow motors, which is 29,000 kV. We have a BI from NewBeeDrone as well. And we have a custom 3D printed RAB FPV canopy. The reason I'm using this instead of the NewBeeDrone canopy is that the NewBeeDrone canopy is at 15 degrees, whereas I like a customizable 30 degrees. So to have it flying optimally for me, I'm going to be using the RAB 3D printed canopy. All right, so let's check out this this frame that we got here. All right, so opening it up, it looks pretty cool. I love the shine that it has around the ducts. It definitely feels light AF. And yeah, so let's weigh it. Hopefully you guys are able to see the weight, but in case you're not, it came out to 2.43 grams. I usually like to weigh twice because sometimes my scale is not the best. And we got 2.43 again. With it, it comes with super tiny, let's see if we can get a better view of that, super tiny screws for the motors, which makes sense because if you look at the frame here, you can see it kind of like dents into the bottom of the frame. It kind of looks like you could like use this as a quality pusher, so you can like mount the motors on top rather than inside. So definitely cool that it comes with these tiny little screws, and it also saves weight that way. So maybe we'll have to do a weight comparison later. And then lastly, it's kind of hard to see, but it comes with these little tiny stickers here, and it looks like these stickers are for the bottom of the frame to kind of help cushion, you know, any impact of like setting your drone down or maybe crashing like on the bottom down. So definitely a nice little package here. And let's open up this flight controller and see what's inside. All right, so that is impressive how all that fits inside of this little tiny case. So it just kind of sits right on top of the phone, and I'm going to assume that everything, like all the screws and stuff, are underneath, which is exactly where it is. Cool. So we're going to go ahead and just probably keep those there for the time being. But if you can't see, we just got some grommets and screws for the canopy, which we'll end up using. Next, we got the NewBeeDrone Flow 0702 motors, also in a really small package. Oh, looks like we gotta peel this up. All right. First thing we see is some little screws to go with it, which is great. And we have these pretty little shiny motors. I like them. And it looks like it comes with spare wires, which I don't think I've ever seen a company do before. So that's really cool. So if you ever break a wire, because if you look here, you can directly solder to the motor itself via PCB. So if you ever break a motor wire, they give you the option of replacing that motor wire rather than, you know, having to replace the entire motor. So that's a very nice touch from NewBeeDrone. So we're just gonna keep that in here for now because we will not be needing that, but it's great to have some spares on hand. And you know what, let's weigh these motors as well. So one motor comes out to 1.61, which is pretty good. Most 0702s, as far as I know, is right around like the 1.55 to 1.65 range. So all four motors comes out to 6.34 grams. Very nice. Next up, we have the RAB FPV 3D printed canopy. Like I said, if you like NewBeeDrone's canopy, I would definitely go with that, especially if you like the 15-degree angle. But because of the way I like to fly freestyle lines, I need that extra angle. So I'm going to be using this today. Oops. And this comes out to 1.05 grams. My goal for canopies is to be under 1 gram if possible. So it's just a hair over, but not enough for me to be too concerned. And finally, we have a NewBeeDrone BI camera. I had this one on hand, so that's why it's not in any packaging. This weighs 1.56 grams. Great. And, you know, let's go back to the frame for a second. Let's compare the weight of the frame to some other frames on the market. So, to start, we have the 2024 Mobula 6 frame by Happy Model that recently just came out. This weighs 2.85 grams. Next up, we have the Beta FPV Meteor 65 airframe, which comes out to 2.68, so just a hair heavier. And finally, we have the NewBeeDrone Light AF frame, which comes out to 2.40 grams. So this is literally about 0.25 grams lighter. And if you're not familiar with whoops or you're kind of new to the hobby, that doesn't sound like a lot of weight. And I completely agree. I didn't care about weight for a long time, but eventually I realized that 0.1 gram could actually make a difference on flight time. So literally every tiny little fraction of a gram makes a difference. So that's why it's very impressive that this frame weighs so much lighter than these other frames. As far as durability goes, I haven't actually tested this yet, so I can't comment on it. But if it's anything like these other frames, it should be pretty good. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move this out of the way for now. And we're going to get started. So we have the Hummingbird V3 flight controller. It does come with a PH 2.0 connector already soldered on. For the sake of simplicity, I think we'll go ahead and keep that on, and we can fly it with a NewBeeDrone 300 Nectar LiPo, which has 2.0. After this video, I will go back and probably replace this connector with a BT 2.0. One of these connectors right here. And for now, I think I'm just going to keep it as is. So it's time to get those little tidbits out of the case. So we're just going to kind of dump it right in the middle now. All right. And we're going to start by taking these grommets, the little plastic gummies, as some people call them, and we're just going to pop them right in, right here. So the way I like to do is I squeeze, and I come from, and I push up into the motors, because it's kind of hard to do it the other way around because the motors are in the way. So I personally like to squeeze them, and then just kind of push it in there. It's not easy, but it's effective. All right. Next. Oh, and look at that. They give 5 grommets just in case you lose one. Because, man, if you've ever messed with these, all it takes is just one drop. Once you drop it, they're so bouncy, they're going to go flying to the other side of the room. So really cool that it comes with an extra one. Usually they don't. Great. So we have the grommets in. Easy peasy. Now, we're going to go ahead and put it on the frame. There's 2 different ways to do it. You can either have it with the flight controller pointing forward so that the LiPo goes up and down front to back of the frame, or you can have it go to the, or you can spin it 90 degrees and have the LiPo go side to side. It's just kind of preference. I think some people like to do it side to side because it performs better for racing, I think. But me personally, I think I've gotten so used to flying with it front to back, I'm probably just going to go ahead and keep it that way. So we're going to look to see which way the flight controller needs to be facing. Usually the pigtails are going to go in the back. The antennas are sort of towards the front of the board, but we're going to see if there's an arrow on here. Sometimes these flight controllers have an arrow to let you know which way to go. I'm not seeing an arrow. So yeah, we're going to assume that this is forward and this is backwards. Okay. So again, I want my battery to be going front to back. So we're just going to pop it in here just like this. Boom. Just like that. Super easy. Next, we're going to go ahead and start connecting the motors. Now you might notice, if this is your kind of first time messing with custom builds, that we have different colored wires. We have red and black. Does it make a difference? Yes, it actually does. If you straighten these out and kind of make them really flat, let's see if I can do it properly. Okay, I think this is it. Might be hard to see, but you can see like the little teeth right there pointing up. Now if we grab a red one and do the same thing, if I can get it. Okay, you know what, I'm sorry. So it's the same thing, the teeth are pointing up, but it's going to be really hard to see. But there's actually one wire crossing over. So the wire that's soldered to the top pad right here is actually the middle wire at the plug. Whereas with this one, all wires are in the correct place for both sides. So the top pad belongs to the top part of this plug. Middle, middle, bottom, bottom. So that's the difference. So essentially what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to place these on opposite corners. So we're going to put the red ones like this, and then we're going to put the black ones like this. And usually that kind of lines everything up when we go into the computer program, so that when we need to change motor directions, if we need to, then we either change them all or we change none of them. But if you kind of mix match it where like red in the front, black in the back, you're almost guaranteed to have to switch two of them if you mix and match. But in the end, it doesn't really matter. You can put them any which way you want, because once we go into the ESC configurator, we can change the motor directions if needed. I'm not entirely sure which motor, if the red motor is supposed to go on the left or right side. So I'm just going to guess and say the red is going on the right. So we're going to kind of push it up against the frame here. And we're going to kind of turn it upside down. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? We kind of need screws first, huh? So let's, where's that frame? All right, cool. So here are the screws that came with the frame. So we're going to open these up. We're just going to kind of dump them out right here. I have my electric screwdriver. This is pretty cool. I got it off AliExpress. I think it was about $90, and it's called, might be hard to see, Square? I'm not even sure. SEQURE. So it's pretty cool. So you have two buttons here. They both kind of do the same thing, with the difference of one of them having a light. There it is. Yeah, so this top one has a light, this bottom one doesn't. But essentially how it works is you put a screw on, it is magnetic. So if you don't get it on properly, it's not going to fall. You push and hold it, and then you twist it a direction. And if you twist it the opposite direction, it's going to spin the opposite direction. So righty-tighty, so we're going to push the button and then twist my hand to the right, and it's going to rotate in a clockwise motion. And if I turn it to the left, it's going to rotate in a counterclockwise motion. So super cool, super convenient, a little expensive, but in the end, I like it a lot. All right, so once again, we're going to put it in the front right here. So we're going to spin this upside down. We're going to put the motor, we're going to line up the middle. So the bottom of the motor frame is inside of the little hole. I have to twist it a little bit to get this one of the screw holes aligned. So you don't need to like put all the screw holes in ahead of time. Usually I just try to get one aligned, and then from there I can kind of just push to the side just a little. And then I got the other ones aligned. So I'm going to grab one more. All right, this is going to take a little bit, so I might just kind of speed up the video so you guys don't have to watch it. And one other thing too, don't over tighten. Usually what I do is I kind of have like an automatic setting, so it kind of screws in and it kind of gets to a point where it just stops like that. That's where I stop tightening. I could tighten more, but then there's a possibility you might start stripping the inside of the motor mount. And once you do that, the motors become very difficult to use, if at all. So I definitely do not recommend it. So again, we got the red here. We're going to do it on the opposite corner. All right. So we just finished screwing in all the motors, and now we're going to go ahead and plug them in. Personally, I like to twist the motor wires. It doesn't really matter which way you twist them. but I don't like there to be a lot of slack. So I kind of make it where it's kind of tight and right before the point where it starts to curl, like there. See how it curls? So I'll kind of back down just a little here. And then the flat part of the plug, I don't know if you could see, flat part should be facing towards the center of the flight controller. So they'll be facing each other. So I'll go ahead and do that. And then just try to push in from the side. There's like a little grip on all the motors. So try to push there rather than directly on the wire, because you could kind of damage the wire over time by doing that. All right. So now that we're done, I just kind of like push them towards each other and then just kind of tuck them down. See, they're just kind of like falling a little bit underneath the battery tray here. Great. So we're getting pretty close to finishing up the first part of this build. Next up, we have the camera canopy and camera. Depending on what camera mount you go with, this one is going to look a little weird here in a second, because I need to fit this in here. I believe with these BIs, I think the wire is at the top of the flight controller, but we're going to check before we get too much further. So I'm just going to shove this over. Be careful when doing that. You don't want to accidentally snap it. All right, so I kind of got this in place here. And now we are going to plug it into the flight controller. Let's see, I think the white is going to go towards the middle of the flight controller. So the red should be all the way forward. Oops, sorry, it's a little hard to grip here, but it should just slide right in once you get it aligned. Yep, slides right in. With this power cable, probably just going to kind of have it go over the top right here. One thing we could probably do too is just kind of, oh no, it's not going to fit. Never mind. Okay, yeah, so we're just going to kind of leave it like this, and we'll kind of plug it in straight from the back here. All right. So at this point, if you want, you can give it a twist or two, just to kind of help prevent the wires from straying from each other. So we're going to do that. Cool. All right, and now it's time to use the screws to mount this up. So we're going to use the screws that it comes with. All right, now that we're done with that part, we're going to go ahead and align it so that it's facing forward. So the camera plug is going to be towards the front of the camera. And we're going to go ahead and screw this first one down. And same thing with the motors, you don't want to overdo it. So just do it until it's a little bit tight, but don't overdo it, because then you can strip the plastic post that the screw goes into, and then you might have a difficult time actually keeping it down into the post. Okay, and finally the last one. Great. So we have the camera and camera mount in place. All right. So one thing we need to do is kind of figure out what to do with the antennas. Where would be a good placement for them? let's see. I think I'm going to tuck this thin one underneath the flight controller. By doing this, it's going to keep it out of the way and hopefully keep it safe from getting accidentally flying into the propeller. Because if it does that, it might get a little chopped up. So I'm just going to kind of shove it down there, and then from the back side, I'm going to pull it and then just have it go all the way through. Yep, just like that. Perfect. Actually, man, there's still a lot of... It's a little bit longer than what I'm used to, so let's try to figure out a good way to do this. You know, for now, I think this is probably going to be fine, because once the battery's in there, the battery's going to kind of push it down as well. I'm just a little nervous about it maybe kind of going to this. Now we got the battery post here. I think it should be fine. All right, great. So we got that one figured out. This one, I think I might undo it and then have it kind of go through the little hole right here. So I'm going to use a pair of needle nose pliers. And then just be careful. You don't want to rip the connector off the flight controller. That is a possibility. So I'm just going to try to pry it up. And I probably should have thought about this prior to starting this build. Great, just got it off. So again, I'm just going to kind of feed this bottom part through. And I'm just going to stick it back over here. So I'm going to twist it so the connector part is down. And I know it's a little hard to see, but I'm just kind of putting it back into place. Great. So that's in there. Antenna's coming off to the side. It's out of the way of the motors. I'm pretty comfortable with this. I have no concerns about it getting chopped up by the wires. So great. And last but not least, we need to put the propellers on. I'm going to be using 31mm 1219S, the Justice Clear Gym Fan props. Usually comes in an 8-pack, but you want to make sure that the props are right side up and going the correct direction. So the top side is going to be flat. Actually, the bottom side, yeah, and the bottom side is going to kind of have like little holes in there. It's going to be hard to see. Also, on the blade itself, you can read 1219S if it's backwards, and it's obviously upside down. So we're going to put the motors with the motor direction going out. So we want the curved side of the blade to be going to the right. So we're going to put that one right here. So I kind of put it on a little bit, and then I push my thumbs on the outside, because usually with these 0702s, the shafts kind of stick a little past these gym fans. So you don't want to push down like this, because then you're going to kind of stab your thumb. So on both sides, and then push. And then, yeah, it kind of pokes through just a little bit. All right, so we're going to grab another one. This one, it's also going to the right. So we're going to put this one on the opposite direction. I'm sorry, on the opposite corner. We're going to get that aligned. Again, push down. So both of them, so the top sides of both of them are pointing to the right, because if I turn it 180, it's also pointing to the right. And so now we're going to be doing the opposite ones. So the left side, the blades are going to be facing to the left. Okay, and one more. Wonderful. And we're pretty much done with the building part. Let's go ahead and check the camera, make sure that it's facing the right side up. And I do have a NewBeeDrone Nectar LiPo with me, pH 2.0. It's not charged, but I'm not going to be flying with it right now. I'm just going to test the camera. So everything looks like it's working. I love the LEDs. It just makes everything look so pretty. And I'm going to search for the channel. See if I can find it here. Usually it's like R5. Yeah. Okay, so camera is not going the right direction. So I think I need to spin it to the left. Okay, I might actually have to. Let me make sure. So I need to spin it to the left. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off. The PCB kind of gets close to contacting the flight controller, so I'm just going to take this back post off. And I think we said we needed to spin it to the left. So I'm going to bend it forward, spin it. All right, and then we're going to put it back down. All right, so now it should work when we plug in. Great. I don't know if you guys can see, but we got video. Everything's looking good. You'll have to excuse my garage. It's an absolute mess. Ooh. Yeah, Inception here. It's kind of cool. Awesome. So, we have a completed build here. Let's go ahead and weigh it. All right, and it comes out to 18.63 grams, which is pretty good. So overall, I'm pretty happy with that weight. I might be able to get the weight down a little bit in the future. And I might make another video in the future as well for creating a NewBeeDrone custom build the hard way. And by hard way, we would remove the motor plugs. We would trim the wires up a little bit. I would consider removing this metal casing off the antenna here, and possibly trimming the antenna down as well. And doing those modifications should save over a gram of weight, which would make this under, like, in the 17s, which would make this fly even better, because the lower the weight on these 65s, the better. Oh, and I would direct solder the motor wires. So instead of being on the plugs, I would just solder them to these little pads right here next to the next to the motors. But yeah, and here, let's do a weight with the battery as well. So 2704 for those who like to know the weight with the LiPo. Oh, and you know, another modification I would probably make as well. I would probably shorten the pigtail, and then I would feed the pigtail through this gap right here, and it would probably look similar to this one that I have right here that I made, where I essentially solder the wires kind of at like a 90-degree angle, you know, getting as close to this as possible coming out. That way, when it's like this, you could slide the LiPo in. So we'll just kind of stick that in there. Have that there, and then essentially you just kind of like plug in like that. And that could save a lot of weight too. So yeah, let's go ahead and go to Betaflight now. All right, now it's time to take your newly built drone and head over to your PC and plug it in with a USB-C micro cable. Once you plug it in, you'll hear a little confirmation tone, like that. And if it doesn't automatically connect in Betaflight, hit the little connect button in the top right corner. The first thing we're going to see is a 3D model of your drone, and if you move your drone around, it should move accordingly. If it's a little sluggish, you can see right here that it's still calibrating, so hold it still. And the calibration has finished, so now it's going to move a lot faster. One thing that I like to do, I don't really know if it makes a difference, but it's something I've always done and have been told to do when setting up, is set it on your desk and hit the calibrate button. And then it just kind of levels everything out. In the ports tab, I'm used to it saying under peripherals, under UART1 or 2, VTX. This is the first time I've used this flight controller, and I noticed that it doesn't say that, but whenever I checked the video, I did notice that the video does work, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it as is. Under the configuration tab, you can change the name of your craft if you'd like. I normally don't bother because I don't like OSD. I like to keep my video clean. It'll say 180 under arming. If it doesn't, change it to 180. This will allow you to arm your quad when you're upside down so you can turtle out. One thing I forgot to mention, if you move it around on the setup page and you have your drone facing forward and you tilt it forward and it's like kind of rolling to the side, you're going to want to go to your configuration, and then you're going to want to adjust the first gyro. You'll probably want to rotate it by 90 degrees until you find it and it's correct on the setup page. Other than that, you don't really need to mess with anything else on this page. Under power and battery, these voltage warnings are a little bit lower than I'm used to because I normally fly with a BT 2.0, but since we're going to be using the stock PH 2.0, I think I'm going to leave these for now. And then I can always adjust them where, if these numbers are too low and I'm, kind of dropping out of the sky before I hit these warnings, then I'll just increase the numbers until I get the correct set of numbers. For presets, we're not going to be doing anything with these. But what I am going to be doing is using a tune from someone else that hooked me up. Otherwise, you could use a karate tune. So we'll type in karate, brushless swoop. I've never really used it, but I know this is a really popular tune in the community. But I'm going to be using a tune from one of my friends, Selenia, and because I've heard that this is a really good tune for this flight controller. And I will provide this tune on my website, prowhooper.com, under the custom NewBeeDrone build list. So we're going to go over to PID tuning, and I'm just going to go ahead and make these changes. I'm just going to kind of speed it along. So we're going to start off by changing this mode right here to RPY, and this is going to allow me to adjust all the sliders. So I'm going to put this to 1.5, 1.4, 1.2, keep that 0, 0.85, 0.9, 1.1, and 1.1. Let's see, smoothness. I'm going to increase smoothness to 45. And mind you, I'm just kind of copying everything that he provided me. Averaging, I'm going to change it to 2 point. Boost 1590. Alright, we're going to keep that the same. Boom. Okay, so I'm going to keep everything else the same. I'm going to go over to the filter settings, and I'm going to tweak these as well. So gyro to 0.8 and the D term to 1.35. And if it's not letting you do any of this, make sure to hit the enable expert mode at the top over here next to the update firmware button. Okay, and then we're going to keep that dynamic PT1. And then we're going to keep this dynamic PT1 and a 5. We're going to change the gyro RPM filter harmonics number to 3. And then beneath it, the dynamic notch filter, we're going to change that to 2. And then we're gonna leave the rest the same. Actually, we're gonna remove the yaw low pass. Normally it's on, but again, I'm copying these filters, so I'm just gonna do it as is because I hear it's a super good tune. So I'm gonna hit save, make sure that everything's saved here, and then I'm gonna go to the rates profile. I'm gonna use my own personal rates. This is what I use. It's kind of a little on the higher side, but it should be mostly good for indoor and outdoor use. So I'm going to drop the center sensitivity down to 200. Max rate I'm going to bump up to 850, 850, and 800. And expo to 0.54. All right, I'm gonna hit save. All right, for binding phrase, you're gonna wanna use a binding phrase that you use for your radio. So in my case, I'm gonna use mine, Tyrantt, and you wanna turn on telemetry. And then also make sure that your channel mapping is correct. Mine is AETR. So I'm just going to hit save and reboot. Okay, and everything should be there, should be connected. For modes, I personally don't like Horizon. I'm going to hit the hide unused modes, and I'm going to add the disable OSD range. And then I'm going to hit that hide button. Okay, so now I'm going to power on my radio.
Welcome to HTX.
And then if you don't have a battery plugged in, it's going to get a little annoying, and you'll hear in a second.
0 volts.
And you could probably hear it saying 0 volts, and it's going to keep repeating it. The reason it's doing this is because I have a radio call out on my setup. If anyone's interested, I can teach you how to do that. Essentially, this is what allows me to fly with my with a clean screen without any OSD. So rather than looking at a timer and a voltage meter, my radio just tells me how many volts it's currently at. So if you're doing the same thing I'm doing, you're going to want to plug in a battery so it's not annoying. Just make sure to have a fan on it so it doesn't overheat. So now that my radio's on, I'm going to change the modes, which sticks belong to which one. So for arming, click the drop down, click auto, and then I'm going to flip the switch I want to be arm. For flip over crash, auto, flip the switch. For disable OSD, flip the switch. And then one thing here, if you look at this, see how it's kind of right in the middle? I want the OSD so it's all the way over. So whether it's on the middle position or the end position, I want it to get triggered on one of those two. And then for angle mode, I'm going to do the same thing, auto, and angle mode. And then I'm going to drag this all the way over. Okay, so then you're going to hit save. And then you can kind of test everything, make sure that everything works, see how the red lights up when it's armed. Angle mode works, turtle mode works. Great, so yeah, again, click save. And now we're going to go over to the motor tabs. Okay, so first off, we are going to want to reverse the direction of the motors. So we're going to click this. So we're doing props out. We're going to hit save and reboot. Click connect. Back to motors tab. And if you don't already have your LiPo plugged in, go ahead and plug it in now. And then we are going to hit reorder motors just to make sure that, reorder motors just to make sure that we have them in the correct place. And then it's going to be spinning on your drone, and you're going to click the one that's spinning. So in this case, this is the one that's spinning right now, followed by here, here, and here. So we're going to hit save, connect, and we're going to go back to the motors tab, and now we're going to check the motor direction. So it's going to give you this warning saying make sure the props are removed. When it comes to whoops, you got the ducks around them. It's Whoops are not a problem. You don't need to take off the props off the whoops, but I guess for liability reasons, yes, take them off. Me personally, I don't take them off because I'm just touching the top of them. They're not spinning very fast. I've never got cut or hurt in any way by doing this. Now, if you're doing it with a bigger drone, especially open props, you're going to want to take those props off. You don't want to hurt yourself. So I understand the risks, and then I'm going to hit the wizard button. And then I'm just going to click on each one. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to hit start. And then I'm going to feel the prop with my finger on each of them. So for the top one, number 2, you want to touch the very top of it towards the front and make sure that it's spinning outwards, which in this case it is. I'm going to check number 1. It's spinning out. Number 3, it's spinning out. Number 4, it's spinning out. And see the little arrows here? Those are going to be the direction the props are going to spin. So I'm going to hit stop motors because all of them are spinning correctly. I'm going to leave bidirectional on. I'm going to leave it as 12, 6. So everything looks good. And, you know, if you want, you can kind of power them all on, make sure everything's working. And in this case, everything looks great. So now we're going to go to OSD. Personally, I only use 3. And that's going to be... So I'm going to just go ahead and take off everything here. And the only ones I'm going to really keep are... Okay. I'm going to keep the fly time. And I like to move it over here. And this is in case I do decide I want OSD. It's not very often that I do, but I do like to have it just in case. And I like to do the average cell voltage. I'm going to move that right over here. Okay, maybe move this over one, make it look a little centered. Great. And then I'm going to hit save. And I'm just going to go ahead and unplug my battery too, because I kind of forgot. And turn off my radio so we don't have to listen to that. Okay. So now we're going to go over to video transmitter, and you're going to set it to whichever you're currently on. So by default, it's on, it looks like race band 1 with the power none. We're going to go ahead and change that power to 25. There's other flight controllers out there that can go up to 400. Me personally, 99% of the time, I'm using 25 power. The only time I really ever need to boost it up is if I am flying in some woods or between tall buildings and there might be some interference. So those are really the only times that I boost them up. So again, it's not very often. I'm gonna hit save. LED strip. Oops. For the LED strip, you know, honestly, I love how the colors look right now. If you're looking at your drone, it looks pretty. There's colors all over the place. I like it. I'm going to keep it exactly as is. And that's it. So if you want to do it the way that I'm doing, you know, step by step, go for it. But I'm going to make it easy for you guys. I'm going to come over here, type diff all, and I'm going to copy this to the clipboard. And then essentially what's going to happen is I'm going to provide this on my website, again, prowhooper.com. Go to the custom builds, find the NewBeeDrone build, and I'm going to provide this to you guys. So what you're going to do is, if it's I don't know if it's a text file or if I have to just kind of paste the whole thing as is on the website. I'll find out soon. But you're going to take this, you're going to copy it all the way down. It's going to start with probably diff all, and you're just going to come. You're going to start on. Oops. So you're going to start on the setup page. So you're going to copy that. You're going to go to CLI, and then you're just going to paste it, hit enter. It's going to run through all of this. It's going to restart, and boom. Everything that I just did, if you do the diff all and you put it in, everything that I did, done. You don't have to do anything else. Except make sure that your 3D model is moving correctly, and you're going to want to come over to the receiver tab and change your binding phrase to whatever your binding phrase is. So with that, we're done. So now it's time to go fly. All right, we are outside and ready to rip.
Flying through the yard, catching air with the stars. With my whoops, I'm soaring high, leaving trails that glow. No limits, no fears, just freedom in my sight. When I'm up in the sky, everything feels right, so right. Freestyling through the air, flipping upside down. I'm dancing with the wind, feeling weightless all around. Through the trees and over hills, I'm chasing dreams untamed. In this moment, I'm alive. My spirit can't be tamed, can't be tamed. Whoops in the sky, I'm living a dream, feeling so free, like nothing's in between. Fly with me. We'll touch the highest peak with the wind in our hair, we'll find what we see.
That was fun. I liked it. All right, I just finished flying this, and it's pretty fun. I like it. The tune is great, so definitely copy the tune that I provided you guys. And yeah, have fun. I flew one more pack after that example video, just to see how low I could take the voltage. Because remember, I was kind of wondering about the warnings being kind of on the low side. And I took it down all the way to like 2.8, and it gave me about 2 minutes and 15 seconds of flight time. So with the PH 2.0, the stock connector, yeah, you can get about 215. I could probably push it to 230 with lighter freestyle, but I'm pretty aggressive. So yeah, overall, a lot of fun, and I'm gonna enjoy this build. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you guys plan on making it or have made it, and how you like it. But with that being said, have fun, happy whooping, and Tyrantt out.